for him to find a silenced SMG, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was taken out like weeks ago, or months ago rather at this point. But as we see a few things on screen, unfortunately for us, that floating island no longer exists. It's turned into a flat island that is now known as what is it known as now? It's like Leaky Lake, I think, is what it's known as now. But regardless, though, as locations begin to change, we will be diving in to our semifinal matchup. If you guys are interested and want to get involved in the chat or even on Twitter, tweet at us at UMG Events. Let us know on social media who you think will make it into the grand finals. Will it be iPahn or iPahn, according to the graphic, or will we see an FHdagod, or are we going to see Voxie and SiaDark make it to the grand finals? It's about to go down now as we're going to see the battle bus start to go through, and that bust looks like it went right over Tilted Towers here, Ryan.
That looks like a tilted drop. You know, we gave them some trouble last time for landing there, and they kind of actually ended up slow playing tilted. So I'm curious to see if they play it kind of similar to how they played last time, or if they're going to use, maybe since it's game one, right, a little less, you know, not in the line, but a little less, I guess, pressure without it being the last game of potentially of your tournament. Maybe they're going to play a little more aggressively. Because tilted, like I said, high risk, high reward. You can either come out with a huge lead, or you could get a very, very early exit.
That's for sure. And we'll see how things break off as the action will continue to progress. Like we talked about, it's so hard to even try to keep up with the amount of things that go on whenever you're in places like Tilted Towers. Unfortunately for FHdagod, I think he's playing on 3 FPS.
So Minecraft?
That probably is just a stream issue, probably not in his actual game, or he probably wouldn't even be playing at this point. But regardless of that, though, as they will progress throughout Tilted Towers, we'll see who can try to grab a little bit of that loot first. Actually, no. Excuse me. I thought that iPahn and FH were both in that location. They actually ended up forming a split. They don't even go there. What we see, it looks like an island, or a mountain, rather, placement here for iPahn. FHdagod is currently in third story blue at Salty Springs. So definitely a much different choice for them. Apologies for that.
Yeah, it sounds like they're. I mean, I'm actually surprised if he goes salty kind of by himself. I mean, you could think maybe you could do 2 passive drops, right?
Yeah.
Where no one's going to get you. You could each loot a different passive area and then kind of go meet back with each other. But he's in salty, where there's people that land there all the time. So a little bit of risky play there for sure.
Can you get to me?
Hear the communication. Tilted Towers, not a fun place to be, but when you're finding eliminations, it makes your life so much easier. As you're going to go and hand off a little bit of those meds, a little bit of those shields as well. Going to get topped off to 175, and is able to live to see another day, but that's the grind that it takes in Tilted Towers. You never really know how many people are in Tilted at one time, Ryan, because it almost feels like once you've kind of eliminated the initial teams who are here, there's always at least one squad roaming around. There's at least one player who happens to be around this particular area from time to time. Much like Paris, the city of Tilted Towers never sleeps.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many buildings that have so many levels, right? And so your audio only picks up from so high, so far, right? Obviously, there's 600 traps played, so he's got to watch out for that too. But
right.
Looks like they do see a couple teams. He does need to get to his teammate a little faster. It looks like he is defensively building, waiting for his teammate to arrive. Does get, looks like, 1 or 2 kills.
Waiting for a shot.
Does get flanked by a minigun.
Got to be careful of those, man, especially when they start firing. People just unload those bullets on you, but thankfully we'll survive that fight, as we're going to notice both iPahn and FH. I thought that was the exact same screen at that time, but they're just rocking the team jerseys, we like to call them, team skins, to a point, as they're going to be soaring throughout the map. And at the same time, Voxie actually happens to rift away, and SiaDark will narrowly grab that rift to go as well. That was very, very close, and they were receiving shots at that point. So if SiaDark doesn't grab that, we could be talking about them being in a 1 versus 2, or one player being down at that point in the game, but receiving some bullets as they're going to land toward top bricks. We'll see how they decide to go ahead and take on these engagements.
They went right back to Tilted, too. Usually a lot of times you'd want to maybe take that to reset, maybe stay alive, and they were going right back into Tilted, just resetting the fight, you know, at Tilted, trying to get a better high ground advantage. As we say that, he does come behind 2 people right now, gets the first kill. Looking for the second one, does take a lot of damage from the second player, defensively builds, gets his high ground, drops down on him, cleans up the kill.
Yeah, great plays coming through from Voxie and SiaDark, as I believe that is going to be elims on both sides, as it will be iPahn and FH who actually joined the fray. I was looking toward the bottom. I was like, FH, did he just find an elimination and steal some loot? No, he was actually fighting for the loot that Voxie and SiaDark had fought for prior. So very interesting start to this game, as it is only going to be, I believe, a 2 elimination advantage towards SiaDark and co. But regardless of that, looks like players could be starting to drift off from time to time. I got to say, I'm a little bit surprised that we see FH and Pawn kind of split off as much as they are. Like, they kind of started off at a distance, and now one player goes tilted, and one is now finding himself toward a different portion of the map, just kind of toward the the northeastern side of Leaky Lake. So pretty surprised that we see the strategy coming out. It's not a common one, but hey, if it's worked, don't change it.
I mean, he was using the balloons. Maybe that was kind of their strategy, is the fact that, hey, I do have the balloon, so I can get to you pretty quickly if I need to. But I guess the same thing would be the case with the flying mechanic now, right? You can just build a few ramps up there and be there just as fast. So I wonder if that's going to change kind of how players start to space themselves now that there is so much more mobility now than there used to be. Before, if you wanted to get someone, if you didn't have a launch pad, you had to pretty much just run there.
Oh, yeah.
Or obviously then the Rift came out. There's a lot more mobility now, but there used to be essentially no way to get to your teammates, so you had to be fairly close.
Right.
Now it seems like a million different ways to be mobile, to close the gap, to get to your teammate.
Well, I remember during the Friday Fortnite days when the ATK came out, it was like, oh my gosh, like, this is incredible. Like, teams now can escape from the storm, because that was always the biggest issue. And like you said, now with the constant additions of making Fortnite faster, the reason being is because the items that can allow you to be so mobile, they had to kind of equate for that. So definitely a factor is those balloons. Whenever they were added to the game, I was kind of, not that I was questionable about them, but I was like, okay, like, how are these actually going to work? Like, how are these really going to be very beneficial? And like I said, just having that high ground to be able to kind of seek over where you're looking for, and to be able to kind of have almost like a portal rift in some instances. In that case, it takes a little bit longer, obviously, but it is pretty nice. But regardless, oh my gosh, what a grapple. Just immediately takes the high ground advantage. Unfortunately, the player puts down the pyramid and loses wall control, does not have those barricades being in his favor as they start to chip away. Having that axe is very, very deadly. Takes some fall damage and gets 4 with a nice little common tacky, but it looks like the nice scar will officially take down that player and is now going to be up to 2. But my goodness, back and forth we go. And as I talked about separating, we now have 3 players pretty much in a very similar location.
Yeah, a lot of the times that's going to be the case, right? We're at 25 players left on the map. You're going to see the two teams start to converge together, especially as the zone gets smaller and smaller, right? Kills become more few and far between, so you don't want to get in a situation where your opponents are in front of a bunch of players and you're on the other side of the circle with nobody. So I like the idea to get close to your opponents. It seems like the kills on our score look fairly close. I think we have a 2-kill lead for Voxie and SiaDark, if I'm reading that correctly. So it looks like towards the end game we're seeing what we usually see with the two teams starting to follow each other, especially in a close game like this.
Definitely the case, as
it is spooky season on the top right hand of your corner.
Spooky season. Pulling out the Shadow Stones.
One thing I learned watching the TwitchCon event is actually what he seems to do right now, right? If you get the Shadow Stones and then hit the little booster thing, if you actually look up straight in the air and start to phase over and over, you can get higher and higher in the air.
Yeah.
If you pair that with the new glider mechanic, it kind of acts like the balloons, right? Where you can kind of gain a bunch of high ground, go really, really high in the air, deploy your glider, and get to kind of wherever you need to go.
Yeah, we mentioned pretty much everything except for those, right? The amount of mobility tools that you have in the game. Got to keep in mind that as well. But it looks like for both of our teams right now, getting back to the future of eliminations in this particular match, I was going to talk about how iPahn and FH had finally joined forces, but just like I say that, yeah, they immediately go away from each other. And at the exact same time, we see Voxie and SiaDark both doing that as well. But in the last match for Voxie and SiaDark, they were pretty much together throughout a lot of the game. Like, they didn't really see a whole lot of splitting, maybe trying to equate for what their opponents are doing, trying to counter their strategies by doing the exact same things. But I got to say, this is very strange. Like, this does not happen very often. This is your first Sunday Showdown tournament, your very first match, your very first series watching. This is not common whatsoever. Because we talk about when these teams, when these players load up for this elimination type of play style, they're essentially facing off against other squads as well. So being in 2v4 situations is hard enough, but when you split, you're in a 1v4 situation. So
yeah, both teams are playing very, very slow in comparison to kind of how you usually see players play this kill race format, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about getting to the next fight, getting to the next set of kills, and both teams are even, like I said, splitting now, which is something we don't really see very conventionally. So
it's like they split, and then once a player is found, they just pounce. Because now, as I say that, we see 3 players, and Pawn and SiaDark both joining alongside this player here, because now that we're going to have 3 players in Salty Springs.
Got to avoid
and
that
it looks like SiaDark actually does take down 1 out of that situation, so steals the play out from Pawn's hands. But at the same time, we see some more shots coming down toward the southwestern side of Salty as Pawn finds 1. SiaDark just got taken down and thirsted, Ryan. That's huge.
It is, but there's not that many players left on the map, right? So luckily it didn't happen too early. But yeah, like I said, this is the opportunity now if you're God and Pond to really start to try to get the lead back.
Yeah, that's a big moment in this game, and we talked about it, right to a point. Granted, while there aren't that many players alive, last game came down to one elimination. So like I said, you gotta take them where you can get them. Unfortunately, while it may not seem like a lot most of the time, every elimination matters. It looks like we are going to be taking a look now at Voxie screen in our top right, now in our main cam. And you can see just like no one's left. I can't even spot anyone here in Salty Springs. You can just see the builds behind them as the reflection as to what has occurred. Also spawning the rainbow as well. Nice little addition to locations, maybe signifying that Ryan is A-okay. He still lives on. Or I said Ryan. I meant to say
my bracket's on. My bracket didn't kill me that bad, brother.
Your bracket didn't kill you that much. I meant to say Kevin. Shout out to Kevin, and shout out to you, Ryan. Fortunately, your bracket didn't look great, but hey.
It's a SpongeBob episode. Hi, Kevin.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Legendary.
Oh my God.
That reminds me of every time
there are so many good SpongeBob references that as I've gotten older, I just decided I was like, wow, like that was such an amazing show that like
show's ahead of its time.
It really was. Are they still making SpongeBob episodes?
I actually think they do.
Do they? Oh wow.
He's got to be like he's got to be in college at this point.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Actually, no. He was a grown man when we started. He works at a burger joint.
That's true. Well, the show is technically in college by its age, I guess, to a point.
Right.
I don't know, man. When did the first SpongeBob episode come out? It was like in the late 90s.
And who's Patrick's landlord?
That's true.
That guy does not work.
That's true.
Might have inheritance.
Although he lives under a shell, so I don't know what the property tax or something like that would be, or the rent.
They're all standing still, bro.
I'm just listening to communication at the same time, just hearing what they're calling out. Maybe a little bit of frustration as well, keeping in mind the 2v1 advantage right now that Pawn and God both have. As Voxie sits at bay, not having the opportunity to spot these fights. Pyramid gets placed down, and to be honest, they're kind of okay with that. They're trying to keep in mind the fights that Voxie could have just in front of him, as I believe he does officially take down one, but there still are many players alive. I believe a grappler gets used from the opponents, and just like that, they'll try to take the high ground advantage back as the player's using his glider, hitting his head against the builds. That's going to leave a little bit of a headache, but despite that, though, we'll see whether or not they can find these shots. Tax Shoddy down 74 and 83, I believe, damage done on the second fire. But it looks like there are going to be continuous fights going down, trying to stay up just toward the southern part of Shifty Shafts. Farts are breaking through, but it looks like at least for a player on the top side of our screen, being Pawn, he does spot one, but that's not all the elims that are going through right now.
I think that was a Shadowstone character he killed last. Did I see that correctly? The feat was kind of small, but it looked like it was a character in the Shadowstone that he just lasered for that last kill.
Very difficult to tell. It really is. There was a player who I spotted earlier, and I was like, is that a Shadowstone player? It was very difficult to even equate just because these guys' shots are so good. You would never even really be able to tell. But
they're hard to hit sometimes, too.
They are. They are very difficult to
me.
Not me as well. I'll be honest. Like, there's been many times where I've heard like the sound and I've heard like the little outline, and I just never can hit a bullet. But
accept defeat.
Yeah, you gotta accept it. And realize that you're getting better every game. Looking on though, looks as if maybe uses the bounce pad. No, gonna go and go for the straight fight. As it looks, honestly, I can't really tell who's even winning a lot of these fights most of the time, just because of the unfortunate bit rate. But we are on screen with Voxie. Using that grappler, trying to grab the high ground advantage, and we'll take that immediately out from underneath and lands the shot for 84 damage, 84 crit, and is going to have quite a few resources. Are those two epic-level heavy shotguns that were just on the ground? Yeah, there are.
Looks like it.
Or no, that's a compact SMG. Sorry. I thought that was another heavy shotgun. Regardless, though, they're going to reap the benefits from that loot and continue to move forward. They are just
pressing, yeah.
They are a dominant trio. Granted, they're not technically on the same team, but they are when it comes down to the lobby. It's what there could be maybe a squad left, right? 4 players left. That could be an entire squad remaining.
Yeah, it's going to come down to, so yeah, the first player does get knocked, so it could be either another team of 3 in a solo or a team of 4 here. You see another player fly into our left, drops the Porta Fortress. We do currently have one of the enemies down. Another player in the Porta Fortress.
Oh. No. Thank goodness that feature now exists. The glider redeploy system is now a very fond friend of our player on screen, and the glider actually gets rocked trying to use the builds, and thankfully might have the opportunity to steal this one out from under. I believe it will be, I think that was FH who finds the last elim in that situation, walks away with 6 total, And we'll begin to grab the Casios out, trying to add up the scores with our calculators and see who is going to have an advantage coming into game number 2. But our semifinal getting very, very interesting.
Like anything else that we've seen today, that was a very close match.
It was.
A lot of back and forth, a lot of basically one team would win the first fight, get the majority of the kills, and the next team would win the next majority of the kills, right? So a lot of back and forth, so it's going to really come down to kind of who shows up this last map, because I think we're going to come into this last map with maybe a deficit of 4 or less. It didn't seem like there was an overwhelming deficit. I could be wrong, but obviously we couldn't see some of the feet at the bottom. But it didn't seem like it was an overwhelming deficit. Yeah,
I feel like one thing that was kind of odd for me throughout that game was the amount of splits and then the amount of rushes that we would see. Like, it's not very common that either of those things happened, let alone at the exact same match. So it's kind of odd for me to see the amount of times that iPahn and FH would start to split. And I think maybe we started to see a little bit of a realization from Voxie and Dark saying, hey, like, we realize what's kind of going on right now. We need to split as well. But Ryan, you talked about how close this game probably was.
1 kill.
1 elim. And that's what separated our last game. So that elim, granted, is very important.
Have we seen a blowout today?
I don't think so.
We've casted. I think every game has been neck and neck, coming down to, 1 to 3 kills?
I forget. Yeah, I forget what our first series of the day, how close that was. But it wasn't more than like 4.
I'll say it was maybe 4 tops.
And
everything else has been neck and neck. We've had a couple nail biters come down to the wire with 1 kill, and it's looking like we might have another one in our hands for this one.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you as well, right? We saw aggressiveness come through. We've seen quite a few tilted drops today. We've seen Pleasant Park, Retail Row. I think we saw like a split come through from Pawn and God. Like one went toward Salty, one went toward a random hill. To be honest, I don't really remember where the hill was, the mountain. But do you think we maybe see potentially more aggressive playstyles and another split come through?
I mean, the logic of my mind wants to say, like, all right, based on like probability, there's no way they're going to land tilted again and not have trouble. I feel like they've gotten out of tilted scot-free so many times so far, and obviously they haven't been engaging too heavy, right? They're not landing in the main tower and pushing people or anything, but I just feel like they've gotten very, very lucky so far with their tilted drops, and you got to wonder if that's going to continue for the rest of the match.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it all breaks down. Like we said, tilted towers, I mean, I don't know. It's an odd pick. I was never a fan of tilted towers. I mean, that was like the biggest thing for me throughout all of Friday Fortnite. I was like, you know what? Like tilted towers, don't go there. It's not worth it. It's not worth your time. It's too high of a risk to make anything out of it. But it seems as if over time, like, and I think maybe today with the huge event that we see happening, granted, tilted towers is just a throw away, or like a stone throw away from the new location that we have. Being Leaky Lake, but still, I don't know, maybe Tilted Towers isn't as prominent today just because of that event that takes place. Maybe we see a lot more players going toward Leaky than, of course, normal, but we haven't really seen anyone off the break go toward Leaky Lake, and I think they're avoiding that for a reason, probably thinking of the amount of players that could be there. And I'll be honest with you, like whenever a new event comes out, there's many times where, or has happened rather, there's been many times where I'll specifically go to that location just to see how many kills I can rack up, right? Just to see like if I can find a weapon first, how many elims can I get? And I think that's the scariest part about going toward a location like that is the unknown of what weapons are going to be available. And if a guy finds a scar and you find an uncommon, tack shoddy off the start, I wonder who's going to win that fight, right? And that's not even based off skill. It's just based off what items you found first. So it wouldn't surprise me if we continue to see players escape that point of view or that particular place. But that could also be a reason why we're seeing players go toward tilted more often is solely just because they realize the pressure could be more off throughout this week.
Yeah, I think over time, actually, tilted has become a lot less populated than it would. And I think actually the turning point that I noticed was when Paradise Palms came out.
That's true.
And I want to say there's like a placebo effect or some sort of like a mental effect of like the fact that the map is like, that portion of the map is like a different color.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, ooh, like well, that's a little different over there.
That's true, yeah.
Obviously, there's still a lot of tall buildings, a lot of loot. So it's not tilted towers, obviously, but that seemed to be, to me, the turning point of when Tilted became a little less crowded than it is. Obviously, it's still by far the most crowded point in the map. And you're going to have days like today where the Leaky Lake is going to be super crowded, people checking out the new structures, checking out the loot, and just wanting to see what's going on, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But I think over time, like I said, Tilted's always going to probably be the king of drops. But I do think it has spread out so much over time. Because when Tilted first came out in that first kind of wave of the update, I mean, it was like 40 people on the map seemed to be going there at once, right? And so I think it has definitely spread out over time, which is nice, right? It's nice to have engagements on more portions of the map. It makes it a little more exciting. I think that we call them spooky seasons. I think that the corrupted areas help too, especially when you have like the Fortnite Nightmare challenges where you had to actually go there to do things. So I feel like Epic's always looking for ways to spread the game out to make sure that there's action going on all over the place and not just because I mean no one wants it just to be concentrated in one part of the map, right?
That's true.
Except for Nick, Mercs, and Aiden.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's almost kind of like very accurate to the way that like regular life goes, right? Like Paradise Palms, it's nice like to have a vacation every once in a while. So it's kind of like you'll go there from time to time. But a lot of people obviously live in the big city, which happens to be Tilted Towers in this particular situation. But I believe we are going to be loading in here for game number 2. Keeping in mind it is a 1 elim advantage heading into this match, as we're going to see whether or not iPahn and FH can make a strong performance in their very first Sunday Showdown tournament, or whether or not Voxie and SiaDark can come back and be just as strong as ever.
Are we seeing a leaky drop?
As it looks like we're going to be seeing all 4 players actually go toward Tilted Towers. We're literally just talking about it, and they're going to be making their way here as well.
There's no way they all stay alive.
We said that, though, earlier about a team who was literally on 170 ping, and they managed to stay alive. That player, I think, found the oh, no, okay, thank God. I thought for a moment the random got the shotty, and I was like, okay, this game is over. Like, it ends that fast. But, wow, early start, very interesting stuff that we witnessed off the break, and all 4 players still alive for now.
Defying the odds, yeah. Once again, we see every time we think that someone's going to go down early in Tilted, they stay alive, and so it would be really cool to see all 4 players come out of Tilted alive. That means that they're probably going to all have good kits, good mats, being a situation to give us a really, really exciting tie-breaking game, or game 2, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. Shots exchanged here throughout Tetris. And you hear the communication coming out. Player in the bathroom, trap gets placed, and that's unfortunate. Easily taken down, as we'll see iPahn and FH trying to grab some resources, trying to grab a little bit of loot.
Just like
they are up to 4. They've got, it's 4-1 right now as far as this game specifically.
iPahn and FH just took the series lead too with that. Like I say, that lead can change so quickly.
Yeah. Definitely want to kind of keep in mind. iPahn, I believe, stream is a little bit more delayed compared to FH, so that's something to kind of keep in mind. We weren't really able to watch FH's stream quite a bit in that last game, and now here, because it looks as if he is playing on, what is that, maybe upgraded to 3 FPS, potentially from 6 the game prior. So I just said upgraded. If anything, it's obviously a downgrade. So thankfully not playing on that in real life. He's not actually playing on a Windows 95 laptop.
That would be impressive.
That would be. I would give all the props in the world to him if he was doing that.
Could be like a YouTube challenge. Like
that would be cool.
The 2 FPS challenge.
Oh, gosh. I guarantee you players would somehow find like the kill record off of that, like eventually. Like, the fact that players can even use like controllers at this point in the game is still crazy. By the way, I really want to highlight what we just saw there. I believe that's I think that was SiaDark. What he does, I know you noticed it as well, Ryan, was trying to wait as long as he could for the res to come through, realizing that, hey, if that player gets the res, that is 2 elims rather than 1. Unfortunately, those started to feel the pressure as that one wall behind them was starting to get destroyed, and decided to go ahead and fire when ready. But still, smart strategy coming in, just didn't work out in that particular instance.
Yeah, I mean, basically the second player said it's almost a guaranteed 2 elims, right? You're going to kill the first kid. The second player is going to have 30 HP, which at that close range is basically 1 AR shot. So that was very, very, very close to being a 2-kill swing there.
Interesting stuff that we're witnessing, as it looks like Voxie will grab a little bit more of those shields and start to dive in toward the resources. As like we said, it's been a fast-paced start, but nothing too aggressive. Like, we haven't seen any players really see that much, I guess you could say, turmoil for the most part. All 4 players still alive, as we weren't really sure if that would even be the case at this point in the game, Ryan. But regardless, though, it looks like FH, or rather iPahn, ends up taking down 1 inside of, I think that was 2nd or 3rd story.
Like you said earlier, there's always someone lingering, right? That was a solo player because, or at least the end of a team, because he instantly eliminated. There's always one guy hanging around Tilted somewhere. And just as every other prediction of the day, they all made it out live out of Tilted. So I was once again incorrect. So
Ryan, who's going to win? Every fan base is like,
yeah.
Okay,
So basically, give me what sport bets you want me to do, and bet the opposite. I'm here for you.
Oh boy, looking out, engaging on the new location.
We got to create a call out for this. I feel like the automatic answer is Stonehenge, right? But that's boring.
Ruins.
Ruins. Okay.
That was my call out.
Okay.
Off the fly, off the top of the noggin. I'm going with ruins. Chat, what would you call? What are you calling this location? Don't call it lazy. Don't call it what it's meant to be called. What is this middle portion of the map?
Stonehenge does not count. That's too easy.
Yeah, no, you can't do that. Oh, iPahn just took so much fall damage that was very unnecessary.
Does he not know about the glider?
Well, I think he didn't know that he was falling from such a high up distance. And by the way, Ryan, I want to point out, iPahn has balloons in front of him. FH is currently on one. SiaDark has some balloons in his inventory, and SiaDark is currently on a balloon.
So you're basically saying it's a party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially.
And we weren't invited.
No, but we at least get to watch the party.
That's almost as cool as being there.
what an unfortunate scenario we find ourselves in. But hey, at least we get to watch from a distance. It's always nice. At least you get to see how everyone had a good time. It sounds so depressing.
Little victories.
That's all we've been holding on.
High.
That's all we've been holding on to throughout the entire day has solely just been on little victories. But I actually looked at the chat for a moment, and I saw one person called it Flower Patch. Okay. Not too bad. I haven't had enough time to even see what's over there. So if there were flowers, I think there are like little petals on the ground.
It's a very positive call out.
That is. The guy's in Flower Patch, bro. He's trying to kill me.
Can't be mad at the Flower Patch, you know.
I mean, hey, it's cool. Someone said the dump ? Or the dump? I don't know about that.
A for effort.
from Flower Patch to the dump. Totally different call-outs. Keeping in mind, though, I believe we do see Voxie gets taken down and unfortunately is thirsted, now leaving SiaDark in a 1v2. Ryan, I mean, if you were in this situation that SiaDark is in right now, I mean, is it just a lot going throughout your throughout your mind, or are you just trying to stay focused at this point in the game?
I feel like depending on how much they're down, you got to just go. You got to go pedal to the metal. You can't even necessarily chase at that point because I do think that they're down. I think that the team on the left actually took the lead after that tilted push. And so if I'm him, I mean, I'm trying to get away from them. He did rift away, so it's a good play by him to get kind of some distance away from his opponents. But you got to just start pushing everything. I know it's not the most ideal situation, especially because you can potentially go against a squad of maybe even up to 4 people. But when you're down, this is game 2, semifinals, $10,000 tournament, you got to go pedal to the metal.
It's a big moment. You hear the call-outs probably coming through from Voxie, trying to give as much guidance to his teammate as possible. See on the screen, 3 eliminations down and still quite a few players alive, right? This one's by no means done, but if you're SiaDark, I think it's fair to say you are definitely hoping that this turns into a 1v1 to make this even a possibility. Because with 2 players alive, that advantage in being in squad fights is so crucial. And being in a 1v2, like we talked about earlier, Ryan, I mean, it's a matter of even being in 1v2 situations, the only way that we saw the Caesars boys be able to stay alive was when Icy joined the other team. This guy is not even close, right? He's not even close to the opponents, but he has to rely on random eliminations like that to hopefully fund what could be a comeback.
It's a start. Actually, a big victory for this little, I guess not even team fight yet, but his kit improved dramatically. His kit coming into that was a common AR and a blue shotgun. So to get that kill and to be able to get those much more upgraded weapons is going to be super helpful for him.
It is. You might see a...
This looks like his teammate coming in. Now, one thing, the zone is closing.
Oh, he's got the trap. Oh, rest in peace. Put him in a pyramid. And he's going to have to finish him off. The player somehow escapes. Oh, my God. This player is still alive, and he has somehow 500 damage, so 500 health.
He needed to make sure he cleaned up that kill before the zone came in. If the player had died to the zone, that would have been super unfortunate to do all that work and then not actually get the kill.
That was looking a little bit scary, though. I was like, okay, do not tell me he's going to put down a trap and still not walk away with the fight. That'd be very, very unfortunate. Regardless, though, we do see iPahn & Co. inside of Dusty Divot firing away at a few opponents who are here, and these are big eliminations for them. These are pretty much like nail in the coffin starts of eliminations. If they were to find these, Ryan, that you could argue could seal the deal in this situation, taking more fall damage, but regardless of that, trying to grab the high ground and looking to try to seek this one out. Only 1 elim in the books, but still doing constant damage, needing to make sure that both players stay alive, but it's a very difficult task to try to keep up.
And doesn't get the first kill. I think they actually just got a potential wipe of a team because his down just went to elimination, so that would have been another maybe 2 kills, which would basically erase the prior 2 kills that SiaDark just went and got out by Lazy. I mean, if you're...
And those were lucky kills at that. Finding someone at that situation and finding them in back-to-back 1v1 engagements, you're not going to get that very often, right?
If you're iPahn and FH, you essentially need to kind of just coast along. If you're actually them, you might even want to go find SiaDark and just make his life miserable.
That's true.
There's so little players left on the map, just make his life difficult. Chances are you're going to get with 2.
Oh!
Just as we say that, though, he does start to find the kills. It's going to be a big second kill. Nice shot with the AR to hit the headshot falling down.
Casually was sliding on the roof, pulled out the heavy shotgun just based off of his reaction, and one-tapped the opponent. 2 players die in that instance, and now he knows where at least the 3rd player is. Why? Because he did so much damage on this guy just sitting toward the northern side of Tomato Temple.
This is getting close.
This is, and it's very scary because of all the fights that SiaDark is finding himself in.
He keeps finding 2 players. And a 1v2 for these guys is a heck of a lot easier than a 1v4, obviously. So they can do 1v2s all day. So if he keeps finding some of those, he can start to close that gap more and more and more.
And he also has great mobility, right? He has 2 shots left in his grappler, and he also has that rift to go. That's going to be a big placeholder when it comes down to this game, right? If he ends up being in a situation that's awkward, he can, like I said, just do stuff like that, right? Use that rift deploy, or sorry, use that glider redeploy and get out of a certain situation that seems a little bit odd. But also, if he happens to be, in a fight that he's not really looking to probably take, he can also use that rift to escape as well. So, big moment. As we're talking about Voxie and SiaDark, keeping in mind, there is now a 3-elimination deficit, but he's got at least 2 players just in front of him.
Looks like 2 in front of him, 2 behind him. So it looks like he's getting pushed by the 2 kids behind him.
Oh,
Traps one in. Trap failed him again.
Oh, and he gets down.
That'll do it.
The build decided to put the floor down, and I believe that player got that shot off probably, what, maybe a millisecond before that floor got placed down, so the shot ends up firing through and takes him down. So that will be Voxie and SiaDark, our qualifier 1 runner-up and team who placed top 4 last week, being knocked out here in the semifinals as they are going now to be eliminated from the tournament. We see iPahn and FH now moving on, and now they're going to await the winners of Dr. Dios and Flying Matt versus Shaq and Static Illusion. So we could be seeing in back-to-back weeks a qualifier final.
And this would be, if I'm reading correctly, this would be iPahn and FH beat them in the qualifier, because I do see that Voxie and SiaDark are the runner-up.
Yeah, that's right.
So history did repeat itself in this situation, and they did beat them again.
My goodness.